Good morning. Welcome to a live talk program. This is Lloyd Grubb here, your host on Revive Reform Radio. Doing our live talk program covering wisdom for living on this year, Friday, Rise and Shine and Give God the Glory. And this morning here, I'm looking at the topic cleave, cling, adhere, glue, join, stick. So welcome again. Thanks for joining with me. Let us pray. Our Father, who art in heaven, I thank you for your word and the blessings, dear Lord, of knowing thee, the only true God. Thank you, dear Lord, for your continued guidance in our lives. And I pray, dear Lord, that we may truly follow thee wheresoever thou goest. This is my prayer in Jesus' name. Amen. So I'm looking at a topic here, which is cleave, cling, adhere, glue, join, stick. So this will take from our theme, and this is a process of living that I believe we ought to do. And my theme is found in Psalm chapter 63, verse 8. And it says, "My soul followeth hard after thee, thy right hand upholdeth me." So here's a principle of life that I believe that we ought to live by, which is the principle is to cling. It is to cleave, which is my primary word here. Cling, adhere, glue, join, stick. So this we ought to do for a better quality of life and a better process of living. When we do life like this, we do life better. So we always want to cleave, cling, adhere, glue, join, stick. Most actually, we're talking about God here, but I'm going to primarily focus on our relationship with God and our relationship with each other. Our life has better value when we follow these principles, when we have people that in our lives that we cling to, we cleave to, we adhere to, we glue to, we join to, and we stick to. And you see this as I go forward, as I go with the various different examples I'll use to show that the quality of life that we need to live is a quality that comes to do with how we deal with God, we deal with our fellow human beings also. So again, my theme is from Psalm 63, verse 8. And it says, follow, stay, which is when it says, I follow hard after God. Various different translation renders that word, the word follow hard, or the phrase follow hard in various different ways. If you look at the original language, you'll find that the original language deals with everything I'm going to say there, which is cleave. It could be, when it says follow hard, various different translation renders the main word that is used there. I didn't have it up, but whatever that main word in Hebrew or whatever the original language, it would be to follow. So my soul follow hard. So when we have relationships, we follow hard those relationships and we maintain those relationships and it blesses our lives. So our soul follow hard. We stay close to, we cling to, we follow close behind, we keep close behind God. But remember, this can be applied to our human relationships. My soul and my very self cling to you. So this is how you could refer to your spouse or a friend. And my soul cleave. Cleave is normally, the word cleave is normally used as a glue, adhere to, join to, or stick to. In the Old Testament or in the Bible, the word cleave is not to separate. Today we use cleave as like a cleaver to separate, but you adhere to. So when you have, as I say, a friend, you adhere to your friend. When you have a spouse, you cleave to your spouse. And you see, as I go through the Bible, how this is used. And so this is wisdom for living. And then after God, and this is wisdom for living. So notice here, this is also very important in the context that how David uses the phrase cleave, cling, stick to. In the context is he's in the wilderness of Judea, and you find that when we're in trouble, it's those who cleave to us that's going to really make it matter. You know, when they say you have a lot of money, you have a lot of friends. When you lose your money, you lose your friends. But your real friend is those who stick with you in good times and in bad times. The fake friends are the ones that they're just there for you because everything is good. But when you're sick, when you're down, that's when you need real friends. When everything is good, friends come and go, they're plentiful. And sad to say, some people, even when things are good, they don't have no friends. So notice here, and as I studied last week, that Abraham was called a friend of God. And so a friend is always someone that stick close to us. So if Christ is our elder brother, Christ is our friend, then we want to stay close to him. So we cleave to him. So in good times and in bad times, especially in bad times, right? So a psalm of David when he was in the wilderness of Judah. O God, God, thou art my God. Early will I seek thee. My soul thirsts for thee. My flesh long for thee in a dry and thirsty land where there's no water. So if you apply this to your friend, your friends, your spouse, those that are your good connections, this should be this is the similar connection. And this is how we want to do life. And when you have life like this, where you have people that cling to you, that thirst after you, it makes every relationship, a friend relationship, a spouse relationship, even a child relationship, any relationship, becomes just more sweeter. Life is sweeter when you have people who react to you in the way how we're supposed to react to God. And God made us like this. And I'll go into all of this. So let me not get ahead of myself. So notice here, to see thy power and thy glory, so have I seen thee in thy sanctuary. Because thy loving kindness is better than life, my lips shall praise thee. Thus will I bless thee while I live. I will lift up my hands to thy name. My soul shall be satisfied as with marrow and fatness, and my mouth shall praise thee with joyful lips. When I remember thee upon my bed and meditate on thee in the night watches, because thou hast been my help, therefore in the shadow of thy wings will I rejoice. My soul follow hard after thee, thy right hand uphold me. And again, you apply this to just about every relationship in your life. You have to look at it and say, who is there for you? Because it's one thing for you to be there for them. And I follow hard after God. But if I'm in trouble, does God follow hard after me and take care of me? See, it's a two-way relationship. And when we apply it, and you see why I'll apply it in a second, I'll show you from the Bible and from reason why I apply this to our human relationship. So we follow hard after God, and God then take care of us. So when we pray, we want our prayers to be answered by our friend in heaven and our Father in heaven. So notice here, but those that seek my soul to destroy it shall go into lower parts of the earth. And that's important because they need to go in the lower parts of the earth, because if they're seeking our soul and we're a friend of God, they shouldn't be seeking our soul, right? So God must take care of us and take care of them. They shall fall by the sword. They shall be a portion for foxes, but the king shall rejoice in God. Everyone that sweareth by him shall glory. But the mouth of them that speak lies shall be stopped. And that's important for them to stop. You see them every day on the major media, a bunch of lies. And so in Hebrews chapter 11, verse 1 and 6, it says, now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. So when we talk about spiritual has to do with things like moral, with things like things that you can't touch and see, but you can see the evidence of them. As I say, faith is the substance and the evidence, but it's not necessarily you can see. So human relationships, if you see two people, you could be in a room and there's two people, and they might be great friends, but you can't see the friendship initially. But you can, if they move a certain way, if they look at each other a certain way, they greet each other a certain way, you can come to the evidence can tell you there is a bond that they have that you can't see, but you can see. In other words, in the interaction, but it's not something you can touch. You can touch relationship, but you can see the evidence of it. Does that make sense? So there's things that you can look at somebody, you can say, man, they look healthy. Or you can hear somebody talk and you say, man, they have a mental flaw, or they have certain information or knowledge, or the brain work a certain way. You can't see the brain, the way the brain work, but you can see the evidence of it. So there's things in life that often people have a problem with that they say because I can't see it. But a lot of our relationship, I would classify them as spiritual because it's something that you can't see. It's something that is more of character, morality, experience. So notice verse 6. But without faith it is impossible to please him. For he that cometh to God must believe that he is, and that is a reward of them that diligently seek him. So with our relationships, right? If you have a relationships and you're always doubting the stability or the merits or the value of the relationship, then it might not be that relationship. Things that you're certain of is things that you have tested, try, stand the test of time, and you know, okay, this is something. So it's like You know, if you go, if you see somebody you haven't seen in a while, and you doubt, should I greet them? Should I talk to them? Probably the relationship is in doubt, right? But if you have somebody that you haven't seen in a while, and the moment you see them, you're just happy and they're happy, then you don't have no doubt. You can just go and greet them. Then you know the relationship is solid. You don't have no doubt. Anyhow, so we go on. In Genesis chapter 1, verse 27, notice now, we start here. Genesis chapter 1, verse 27. Notice it says here, so God created man in his own image. In the image of God him, created he him, male and female created he them. So when you read this, it's read in the singular God, but when it says, the Lord says to his Lord, obviously the Lord speaking to himself, let us, obviously we see that God has to be at least two, because God is not talking to himself, right? If I say to somebody, let us, if I say let us, and I was in the room by myself, you would either think there's somebody in this room I can't see, or I'm talking to myself, I'm mentally ill. So God says, let us make man in our image, right? And it says here, he made man in his image. But then it says he made man, he, male and female. He made him, male and female. So man is two. So we started out with a God that is us, and then with man being two. But we know, you're listening to me, you're either male or female. You're not one. You're the one or the other, but you're male or you're man. So that's how we normally look at humanity. So we started as two. So obviously, when we go through life, it is not good for man, as the Bible says, to be alone. In a perfect world, I always find that fascinating. I'm gonna get back to the God part yet first, next. But in a perfect world, we started out as everything is perfect, but something was negative. Well, two things were negative. We find two negatives in Genesis chapter 2. Genesis chapter 2 tells us that there's a tree and it's negative, and that man is alone. Being alone is negative. So that's how we started. So obviously, if in a perfect world it's negative, in a world where there's sin and there's human conflicts, obviously, then it's even more negative. That's how I look at it. That's my reasoning. That I'm not supposed to be isolated. I'm supposed to have human relationships. And if I can have a friend, I must have other human relationships. If I can have a spouse, have human relationship. But man was not made to be alone. The moment he was made, God made man by himself, because believe God foresee what was going to happen, and then taught Adam the first lesson, that one of the first lessons we could learn, that was taught a human being. You're alone. You're not supposed to. And Adam figured it out and said, "Oh, I'm alone." And God says it's not good. So we see there, right there, when we talk about cling, cleave, adhere, we talk about God is something to do with God. It's not something to do with us. So when we see God and we rewarded, one of the things that I've learned is that it's a reward to understand that we are not made. Even if we're single in the sense of a marital, spousal relationship, we're made to have people that are close to us, that we can cling to. So in this situation now, God, plural, is making us in his image. So we reflect God. So normally when I was younger, I would think about God as single. But then you come back to Genesis 1 and you say, well, it's right there in Genesis. God made man two, and God is minimum two. But then you see, I believe in Genesis 1, you say God was on the Spirit of God was on the face of the deep. And then God said, let us. So the Spirit seem like two is talking to themselves, and the Spirit of God is on the face of the deep. So right there, you can catch right in the beginning of Genesis, Moses writes down 3, minimum 2. So there's people who argue all this type of stuff. I don't know why they argue, because you start the Bible, and the Bible throw you a curveball. You come to the Bible, you think there's God, one, and then God says, well, there's a spirit. He's on the face of the deep, so obviously he's not. He's somewhere detached or dispatched. I don't know you say that. And then it says, let us. It seems like two people talking to each other. So is it the spirit he's talking to? Is Jesus the spirit? We don't have no clarity. All we know is he says, let us. So there has to be two. And you could see there's a possibility of three. And then I leave that at that, not a doctrinal discussion, just a discussion that one would have to look at and come to one's own conclusion. So if you make something in his image, then we get two. So somebody could say, Lloyd, but why isn't there not three? I'm not going to go into that. I'm just simply saying, well, minimum, we see us and us make two. So minimum, you deal with that in your mind. So God himself is social. So that's how I normally look at the Bible and God. God himself is social. God himself is a team. And we are made to be in teams. We work in teams. I always say that some of the most profound things that we fight against in this life is the obvious. We do life, we work for companies. That's what it is, because we're companies. We go in 2, 3. The Bible says where 2 or 3 are gathered together. That's a church. So church can be one person. So it's just, that's the way. All right, 2 or 3 are gathered. So what does that mean? Well, you deal with that for yourself. You always have to have people. We're created like that. So when we say now cling, cleave, adhere, join, stick to. So I start off with that. That's my base case. So we are made to stick to something because one person can't glue themselves to themselves. You have to glue to somebody else. So let's now continue. In Mark chapter 10, verse 7 and through 9, let's take this a little bit more now. Mark 10, verse 7 through 9. And it says, and for this cause a man shall leave his father and his mother and shall cleave to his wife. So ultimately, if you have a child or 2 children or 3 children, you have more than one. But sooner or later, the children, they're going to leave home. And as they leave home, they're going to find themselves their pair. So as they find themselves their pair, they're going to leave their father and mother. And they're going to cleave. Now, the word cleave, as my topic is, can be used as cling, adhere, glue, join, stick. So this is where you see the process of life working. Because we're made in the image of God and we're supposed to, like God, cleave to each other. Satan couldn't break their bond. So even though the angel rebelled, they didn't rebel against each other. So normally, it's the there's mother and father, and when a child join to whoever they're going to do, they're going to make their own home. And that home, they're going to try to cleave to each other. They're going to try to cling to each other. So we're supposed to be like a child. Have you ever seen a child that they say is clingy? They're clingy. They cling, to their mother's pants or skirt or whatever. And that's their protection. So we're supposed to cling, not stalk. A stalker normally is the clinging have gone wrong and we have lose our moral compass and we become dangerous. And that can be a terrible thing. But we're supposed to cling to those who we love. But normally we grow up for all these life, we cling to our parents. But then we go find our own because we find out our parents kind of sometimes gang up against us. And they're not really, they're really like an appendage, so to speak. And so then we go find our own. So this is, for this cause, the man leave his father and his mother and he cling. So we're supposed to cling to something. That's when our life is best. All the money in the world, all the non-material substance has value, but the value does not compare to clinging. So where are we learning this? We learn this from God. We have a relationship with God and we cling to God. But then we have a relationship with our friends, our families, our co-workers, because that's what our company is. The best company is when they all join together in the same task. Notice this. And the twain, or the two of them, shall become one flesh. Now, is this possible? And for those of you who have been married for years, is this possible? because you become one. And part of this, I think, is not just one flesh in the sense of physicality, but a sense of you sleep together, you eat together, you do something together. Your friend, your best friend, it really is supposed to be your spouse, right? Because you're one with them in so many ways. And when you have a marriage, really, the marriage is supposed to be, to me, the word friendship is supposed to be viewed in the marriage. And then you start to understand what clinging is. So when you start getting that, you say, oh, I cling to this person, and I cling to my God, and I cling to my friend. So you're getting the idea. But this is not just a relationship that's moral and social. Social, it goes beyond that. So let's keep going. So then they are no more twain, but one flesh. So they might even die of the same diseases because they're eating from the same pot every day. They eat the same diet and lifestyle. That is sometimes troubling. You could have a couple that they're literally from two different households, two even different nationality, and they end up dying of the same disease because all these years they became literally one flesh, not only sharing each other diseases sometimes, that can be the bad part, but also sharing each other diet and lifestyle, end up dying the same from same diseases. Notice here, what therefore God had joined together, join again. You see, you can look at the word and you see join. How do you join something? You normally join something by clinging it. So we say a cling film or a shrink wrap. So your shrimp wrap, just imagine that when you get married to somebody, is that probably this would be a great idea to have a pastor just get a shrink wrap and wrap them after they say I do and they kiss the bride. Just wrap them up together and say this is what you're supposed to do all your life. Cling to each other. And adhere, so adhere normally you use a glue or you use like Velcro or something to stick something together. So they join tight, so you want to be the tight as you can with your spouse in all the days of your life. Where what therefore God had joined together, let no man put asunder, not the mother, not the father, not the sister, the brother, the cousin, whatever. You just cling. That's it. You're done for life. That's the hope, at least. In Deuteronomy chapter 11, verse 22, notice here is telling us about our relationship back now to God. Let's go back to God here. Deuteronomy 11, verse 22 says, for if ye shall diligently keep all these commandments which I command you, to do them, to love the Lord your God, to walk in all his ways, and to cleave unto him. So here we see that word again, cleave, right? And that word cleave, as David says, my soul follow hard. What he's saying, my soul cleave to thee, or my soul cling to thee, adhere to thee. He says, in order for you to follow God, you have to keep his commandments. These commandments, he tell you, all the commandments, Leviticus commandment, Exodus commandments, all these commands. The more you keep these commandments, is the more you cleave to God. Remember, part of any human relationship, friendships and spousal relationship, you have to do what the other person tell you to do. That's just something you have to deal with. Now we can go back and forth to what degree. When you cling to somebody, you kind of have to follow what they say. That's just the thing. No, you don't want to be a robot or automation. You got to work this out. But I'm just saying, when you make somebody happy, part of the thing that you have to deal with is that you have to do what they tell you. And you have to do what pleases them. That's just it. Now I know there's nuances to it and discussions to it. But you think about it. If you have a friend and you don't do what the friend tell you to do or what makes a friend happy, you're not gonna be friends. If you always argue with each other, disagreeing, you're not gonna be friends for too long. That's just a fact. But goes with God also. So when you understand, it goes back and forth in my mind. When you understand God, you understand human relationship. And when you understand human relationship, you understand God. God is happy when you do what he tells you to do. That's what John chapter 15 tells us. Christ wants you to adhere to him. I want to follow him and to love him. But in order for you to love, you have to do what you're told. So it's the same thing with a spousal relationship. This is why when you watch like a relationship, you watch like how a female will take care of a child. You find out that the child need to be do what they're told, and then the mother will be happy. But then you start realizing, wait a minute, the female want to tell the husband to do what she tells him to do, and then she'll be happy. But that's a relationship. That's a relationship that's you cling to. Now it can become very uncomfortable. So that's why you have to work it out. But that's in essence is what people want. It's the same thing. If you have a male man in a relationship, he wants the spouse to do what he tells her to do. And when she does it, he's happy. And that's part of the relationships that we deal with. So it's the same thing with God. God says, thou shalt not steal. Well, when you don't steal, God is happy. And if you want God to be happy, then you don't steal. That's it. And it makes relationship happy. And you'll notice it's the same thing with a child. The child that's more obedient to the parent is the child, the parent happy. I want you to go to school, do your schoolwork. I want you to do what I tell you to do. And the child be like, huh? Yeah. And if you don't, there are gonna be fights. it's it's that simple. You do what you tell. Now again, somebody said, but what if I'm being commanded to do things I don't like and stuff? Sure, then you have to negotiate that or work it out or probably argue it out. Don't fight. But that's cleaving. So we understand the structure of life is relationship. Somebody say, how far do you take it? Well, same thing in our job environment. If you're in a job environment and you're not doing what your manager tells you to do, sooner or later it's going to end in arguments. And if you keep disobeying, they're going to fire you. Now, you might not agree, and you might say, look, it's worth for getting fired because I'm not going to follow that order. Sure, sometimes it's worth getting fired if they've been telling you to do something wrong. But at the end of the day, if you do what they tell you to do and it's not wrong, then you find that they say you're a good employee. They write you up and they say you're the best, right? And then they give you pay rises, right? So that's just the life we live, And same thing with customer. The customer, the customer they say is always right. Well, that's not true. But when you go to somewhere and you give good customer service, aren't you happy? To sometimes you want to patronize that company more, or you want to tip that person that serving you. Everybody serves somebody. People always say they want to go into business. If you go into business, your customers become your manager. Everybody's managed. I just look at it that way. I don't see nobody saying, "Oh, I have my own business." What does that mean? You have your own business. That means you have customers. They manage you, and if you don't do right, they'll penalize you because you're not doing what they want you to do. And that's what it is. Whatever product and service. Oh, but I'm my own boss. Sure, it is that to a certain degree, but there's always somebody that you have to answer to. You're answerable to somebody. So you start by answer to God, you answer to your parents, you answer to your spouse, and life will be better. And there's more to it. I'll keep moving. I'll duck that bullet here and keep moving. So Luke chapter 15, verse 13 through 16. So we're talking about cleaving, clinging, adhering, gluing, joining, sticking. So we join with our spouse. We join clubs, groups, and that's what it is. And when you say if you join a group, you want to be the best in the group. Just understand the rules and follow the rules, and just follow it. And the more you follow it, is that you're the best person. You're happy. Make it be happy, and that's what it is. You got to know to work with the process, right? And people buck against the process, then they kick them out of the group. That's all. Again, if you don't like the group, then don't join. That's all. And then if you like the group and you want to join, then you follow the rules. So that's what happened. That's why I don't join certain groups, because I'm not going to follow those rules. That's all. You. I'm teaching you here that you can even be the best gang member if you follow the rules. You might be going to prison, but they're going to think that you're the best. That's all. Same thing with military. Same thing with anything. You follow the rules, and then when you don't want to follow the rules anymore, then you quit. That's all. Luke chapter 15, verse 13 through 16 says, and not many days after, the younger son gathered all together and took his journey into a far country. And there wasted his substance on riotous living. So you know the story about what they call the wasteful son. And when he had spent all, there rose a famine in the land, and he began to be in want. And he went and joined himself to a citizen of that country, and he sent him into the field to feed swine, and he would faint and fill his belly with a husk that the swine did eat, and no man gave unto him. So when we come to verse 15, I'm going to read verse 15 again for you because this is important for us in our topic as we look at stick and join together. So this is the join part, but join is the same, it's a similar word, similar meaning. So notice here in verse 15. So he came to want because he ran out of money. And now he said he went and he joined. If you look at the root word, you'll find it has meaning similar to cleave, cling, adhere, glue, join most naturally, and stick. So he go cleave to somebody that was not looking out for his best interest. So now, if you're gonna cleave, join, stick, adhere, you gotta choose well. So this would be my counter, so to speak, to Mark chapter 10, verse 7, where it says a man join a spouse. Because when you're going to join anything, a group, a company, whatever, when you're younger, you don't think too much into these things. But as you get older, it's important to you to understand that says every relationship has this in common. And because you have to do what you're told, so to speak, you want to be very careful who you cling to, who you join with, who you adhere to. Because if you adhere to the wrong person, they might send you into the into the pigsty and you're feeding pigs and you faint and they probably eating all great up in their house. But they have in you that you're so hungry that you're feeding pigs. So no matter what decisions you've made in life, bad decisions I'm talking, it's always good for you to come to your senses and say, if I'm going to join, I better join with somebody that's going to bless me because I'm going to have to do what they told. Because remember, you see the same structure of what I'm talking about here. He joined to somebody and they told him to go work. But he's working and he's hungry. And he started eyeing the pig food and start thinking, oh man, I could start biting into into all this pig food here. What am I doing? The mistake there is who he joined to. Most actually, the mistake there was he wasting his wasted because the thing about it, after he done all that whore life and drunken life and whatever life he did, and now the money run out, he can't go back to those whores and the people he used to drink with and say, hey, listen, y'all can take care of me. Y'all some money for me. When the money was flowing, I took care of you guys. Now you can't take care of me. You see, he's making all the wrong decisions. But what the story tells you is that whatever mess that you're in, you need to come to your senses and say, it was better. It was better back at church. You know how many people you know? I've known. I don't have to even ask you how many people I've known over the years that they leave something good and they gone out there in the world, say they're running away from God. I don't know what they're doing. Or they go live the righteous living life. And they gone somewhere and go eat pig's food. And in their father's house, their good food being served. And yet they out there eating pig's food and enjoying themselves to some of the pagans in a foreign country, far country. And they're getting abused and they can't just get sensible like this young man. I said, wait a minute, you know the story. Wait a minute, servants are doing better than me. And here am I a servant eyeing pig's food. And there's many people I've known. They're gone out, so they go serve the devil, serve the world, running after flesh and skirt and running after drugs. And all they're getting is a beat down. And it seems like they can't come to their sense and say, wait a minute, I need to go back to church. Life was good when I was serving the Lord. I was going to church. Just go to church, go sing. Go sing a song and read the Bible and just be there and say, man, it's good to be back home. But a lot of people I know are very rebellious. They like the beatings. But I'll tell anybody, man, go back to the Lord. So I read it again. And he went and joined. Not good. You want to be careful you join because whoever you join going to send you. Going to tell you, hey, do this. Because remember, every relationship, people going to tell you what to do. So you want to make sure the person going to tell you what to do, have your best interest at heart. So that would counter the thing about if somebody hear me saying, well, you need to follow what your spouse said. You need to. You just need to choose your spouse right. And then you need to ask yourself a question. When my spouse asks me to do something, is it in their best interest and my best interest? And then if it's in their best interest or your best interest, then let's do it. It's for the happiness of both of you. Just follow the command. So notice here, you be the best husband and the best wife. So notice here, and he went and joined himself to a citizen of that country, and he sent him into this his field to feed swine. Here's a Hebrew feeding swine. If that ain't the most demoralizing thing for a Hebrew to do, and for Adventists to do, I don't know what else is. You feeding pigs, man. And then he faint to fill his belly. I don't know if you've ever been so hungry that you feel faint, famish. Have you ever been that hungry? It seems like I experience that too much. Like just hungry. But my thinking is that I don't need to go eat no pig food. But that's what it is. He faint, and he, imagine looking longingly, probably started having mirages and seeing the pig's food, and it looked like a nice, probably kebab, or it's looking like some nice olives with some hummus and pita bread. And he's thinking, and then he snapped to himself and said, "Wait a minute, that's pig's food. It's not good, kosher food here." And this is what it is. And he says, and no man gave him. Ugh, that's so painful. So be careful what you join yourself to, because whatever you join yourself to, they're going to send you. You don't want to be sent to feed pig. But that word again is cleave or join or adhere. He joined the wrong house. Go back home, son. So if you listen to me, please go back and serve the Lord. Don't follow these people, all this depression and suicide. But they say, "Oh, I can't serve who I don't know." Well, sure, go serve some what they call primordial soup creature. I'm not serving that. So notice here, first Samuel chapter 18 verse 1 through 4. First Samuel chapter 18 verse 1 through 4. So notice here, this is talking about David and Jonathan. You're familiar with this. But this again deals with us with this idea here of when you join to something, you love something. And so this is what we want to have. We want to have these rich experiences in our life. We want to be able to have, I'll tell you, it's better to have 2 friends than to have 10 frenemies or 10 acquaintances. You know, it's just better to have 20. If you can have 20 friends, man, your life is rich. I'm not talking about, just people who really care for you. You listen, you want people to love you so much that even if you die, they be like just like screaming and mourning. That's just the best. Is I've known people when they die, it's crickets. It's like nobody. It's actually very depressing. But I'm just laughing because I just think it's just amazingly crazy that we live in this world that somebody could die, and somebody like, what happened? Nothing happened. And there ain't nobody really care. They just like take the body and just fling it in the grave. It's amazing. It's terrible. Not even the crows would come and eat, or the vultures. Nothing wants that thing. First Samuel chapter 18, verse 1 through 4 says, and it came to pass when he had made an end of speaking unto Saul, the soul of Jonathan goes deep into the emotions. The soul of Jonathan was knit with the soul of David, and Jonathan loved him as his own soul. So the Bible says this is always supposed to love the Lord, and this is always supposed to love each other. We love our neighbors as ourselves. So we don't see this too often, but it's good to have somebody to love you like that, right? That's how I want to be loved. How about you? You want people in your life to just love you like their own soul, like when they see you, they're just like happy and they just love you. That's how I want to be loved. So if you want to love me like that, just reach out. I'm looking for people to love me like this. This is beautiful love. So notice here, the soul of David. So it's knit. Oh yeah. So I must. So I could have put that word in, knit. So knit now takes a little bit further. I probably should throw knit into my topic, but I won't now since I'm already gone. So Jonathan's soul was knit. So knit now, if you look at the knit, well, let's talk about how knit is. So when you knit something together, normally become one fabric, right? And this type of love also can, because I'm sure you've heard about people stalking people and stuff like that. So that can be a little bit scary. But when you talk about this is how we're supposed to knit to God. Another way that I'm going to show in a second, the next verse I'm going to use. So, the next verse, each verse seems to lead me to the next verse. But anyhow, so the next verse deals with it in a different way. So knitting is, and I'm sure you've seen it, and probably you've done it, where they knit threads together, and what happens, it becomes one fabric. And so it can't separate, right? Probably only death. This is what even marriages. You're supposed to get married to somebody, and only death should separate you. People say they have irreconcilable differences. Listen, people can settle wars. You can settle a difference with those that you're knit to. So anyhow, so they knit. So his soul was knit to David. That's amazing, right? So just imagine if you could have someone like this in your life, a friend. Now, this is a friend relationship. And then imagine if you could have a lot of friends like this. Your life would be just best. People just looking out for you, love you, like you, see you. This is what you want. And this is what make life beautiful. Now, this is, I'm describing here in my mind. Watch my time here. The structure of life. This is the intention when God created humanity. That's why these examples are put in the Bible. We were created to be knit together. When Adam and Eve fell, Adam was knit to Eve, that he plunged with her. Not the best outcome, but it shows you how God made us. We're made actually to love. We're made to eat and sleep and all that stuff. But I think the more powerful thing we're made to do, we're made to have faith, hope, and all that. But the most important thing that we do as human beings that can't be seen in us because we're material, so to speak, flesh, is this attribute that we have to love and to receive love. That's why we must be lovely, lovable and loving. We love others, and we're supposed to be at the character trait that we can be loved. There's people can't be loved because the character is so terrible. So they have to find the Lord, repent of their sins, and improve in their behavior manners so that it can be loving. So this is one of our character, that we have this ability to love each other. And we have the ability to receive love. This is something that you look at a person and you probably can't tell. This is the structure of life. And when you have people in your life that love you and you love others, everything you do is nicer. The food you eat is nicer. Now I'm telling you, there's food that you can eat is not nice. But any experience you have that's beautiful, it becomes more beautiful when you have somebody that loves you and you share that experience with them. That's what makes life. That's the structure of life. That's why people do team sport, because they're trying to find connection, right? People cheer on the same side and they can happy together. That's what love is. So we want to be able to have that experience. And when we have that experience, our life is just richer and our life is better. So what is the result of this now? So the next 3 verses tells us what's the result of being knit together. Notice here, verse 2. He loved him as his own soul in verse 1. Verse 2 says, and Saul took him that day, and he would let him go no more home to his father's house. Like, man, nah, you don't have to worry. Oh, wait, I need to go back home and get some clothes. No, you don't worry. But you won't see it in a second. I'm jumping ahead. All right, this is love. This is what you want. I mean, literally. This is the type. This. You see, when in Psalms they say, I want to see your power and your glory as I've seen in the temple. This is what we see in the Bible. This is what I'm experiencing what I see in the Bible. But when we experience this in our personal life, with our friends, our spouse, those that we worship with, and with God, our life is just richer. There's no other experience like this. And he just took him right there. He said, you coming home with me? What? I ain't letting you go. And then verse 3 says, then Jonathan and David made a covenant because he loved him as his own soul. Very interesting. You love somebody so much that you be like, we gonna live together, all right, and we gonna make a covenant together. See, you use that. You can use this clearly for marriage. This is what a marriage is supposed to be. Like, no, we buy a house together and we live together because we want to be with each other all the time. And this is a good friendship. Like, you want to be with your friends, you want to connect with your friends, and this is what you want. Notice here, and Jonathan stripped himself, so he didn't have to go home. He stripped himself of his robe, which was upon him, and gave it unto David, and his garment, even to his sword, and to his bow, and to his girdle. What are you talking about? This is amazing. When you understand that David was already anointed king, and just like with the church, the corporate church and the independent churches, that there's 2 churches in existence. Side note, some doctrinal issues here. But you understand that there's 2 kings existing. Most people don't deal with that. Because in the last days, we know, just like with Christ, when Christ came on the scene, his ministry was the true ministry. He was the lay ministry. And then there was a corporate church. They sat in Moses' seat. Very complicated. Just trying to throw out this complicated issue here. But it's the same thing. We're told that in the last days, the lay people finish the work. But yet there's
the lay people, and then there's the corporation. So here, David is already anointed king, and the prince stripped himself down, and basically, this is like he covenanted with him and anointed him. This is amazing stuff you read here, and you could read this 100 times and don't pick it out. He's almost showing who is the king, and he just loved him. Saul had the story. Saul wanted to kill David for this later on. Saul had a big problem with this. Jonathan was like, this man here, I love this man. This is the king. That's the showing the prophecies to me of the Lord. So notice here in John chapter 19, we use that. We're going to look at again cleave, cling, adhere, glue, join, stick. We see this now in John chapter 19. Another amazing text, talk about love. So John chapter 19, verse 25 and through 27. Now there stood by the cross Jesus, his mother's sister, Mary, the wife of Cleophas, and Mary Magdalene. So these are the people really, the females who really love the Lord. Talk about love again. So no matter you see, and this is the thing in life. Christ had people really love them. And hopefully me, you are one of them. And yet the Pharisees hated him. So you can understand this is a dynamic always played out in the church. So it's good to have this type of stuff, right? In your life. It's somebody that people that really love, even though the Pharisees are in the future, the mark of the beast people, gonna be hated on us. There's people who love us. So we leave it at that and go forward. And verse 26. And when Jesus therefore saw his mother and the disciples standing by, whom he loved. So there's 12 disciples. One of them was a snake. And then there is Peter and all that. But there's John. John he loved. John now became, to me, the Jonathan and David story, since Christ is the son of David. John loves the Lord. Now, somebody say, well, what about the other disciples? Yeah, they love the Lord. But John loved the Lord. Mary, as James, has other young people. I don't know if they were the right age. I don't know what the age was. Probably they were grown men. Christ is only 33, so I don't know if they were much younger. I don't know. But somehow, what happened transpires next as I'm going to read it. It's very fascinating that when you love somebody, it's supposed to be that you trust the person with your life, with whoever you love also, because they're looking out for you and for whoever belongs to you. That's real love. So we see this now. So when Jesus, therefore, saw his mother and the disciples standing by whom he loved, which is John, he said unto his mother, Woman, behold thy son. What? That's fascinating. You love John, you love your mother, and you say, well, there's other kids, but you know what happened? Because he has other brothers, obviously, He says, oh no, he's going to take care of you. He's older. I'm assuming he has the responsibility. It was his responsibility, but he didn't pass it to any of his brothers. He passed it to John. Very fascinating construct. Now, I'll use this in the future because there's some discussions I need to have online here with you about people who are getting older. And one of the big mistakes, I didn't want to go here, didn't plan to go here, but I'll just say it right now. I'm going to have to do a whole talk about this because I see this as a big problem because we have so many older people in all societies across the world that over and over again, I'm seeing older people don't make this good choice that Christ is making here. What is Christ doing here? He pans everybody. And James became prominent in the church and stuff like that. So I don't know if he was at the age or I don't know what was going on there. I don't know I don't have no memory reading anything about historically what could have gone on. But let's say it this way. So at this point, he's doing something that most older people, when they're in their right minds and they have the ability, don't do for themselves. I would tell you that it would be best to find a person that love you and is responsible and say, I'm going to turn over my care to you. But as I've seen a lot of people, they have nobody in their family that they could really sensibly say, you care for me. Or they have probably somebody, but it's not their primary responsibility for them. In other words, you could have a son and say it's the oldest son, but he's not going to care for you. But there's another son or daughter or whatever, you designate that person to be your primary caregiver. And person can make decision for you, especially if you start losing your mind or getting too frail. But I've seen people, sad to say, I've seen a lot of people, and then I would say a church member, somebody you can trust. It would be somebody that can love you. That's why it's good to have relationships outside your family, church relationships. And I've seen so many people got whipping before they die because of this one blunder they make. This is a terrible blunder. They turn their care over to some no good person because they're family members or because they're the older family member or whatever crazy reason. And I'm thinking, this person didn't see, they don't get, you can't figure out who love you. If you can't figure out who love you, keep listening to me. I'm going to have to clarify in future talks. I don't have enough time here. I'm running out of time. I'll probably run out of time. You got to understand who loves you and who cares for you. You can't, it's better to miscalculate, but at least the person has shown you and then they fail in the end, than to obviously push your responsibility on somebody, push a responsibility on somebody that show no sign that they could care for you, or they even have the ability to care for you. Because there's some people, they can't care for you. Them not in their right minds. And that's a fact. So here Christ make a brilliant choice that I've seen so many people since I've been alive make a dumb choice. I'm like, why they make that dumb choice? They don't see that this person couldn't care less for themselves, much as them. I'll read again. When Jesus therefore saw his mother and his disciples standing by whom he loved, he said unto his mother, Woman, behold thy son. Brilliant. Excellent choice. He's the master for that. Master. This is master class here. Then said he to his disciples, Behold thy mother. So it's a handoff. This is a covenant similar to what Jonathan did with David. And from that hour, immediately like Jonathan, that disciple took her onto his own house. That's your son. Imagine, man. Like, come on, you don't even go, don't go back to them kids. Them crazy kids. That they're gonna get convert later, but you're not convert now. Come with me. Probably this is why the Lord kept Jonathan alive. Jonathan kept John alive. He was the only disciple that lived out his life, and then ultimately, as he got older, end up in prison. Probably for that, Jesus said, "Oh no, I need somebody to take care of my mother. She took care of me," and so we need to keep him alive. Probably it was probably structural. So that's what you want in your life. You want people to be loving to you and to love you and take care of you. And you need this in your life. You need to go find it in your life. You need to go seek it. Man, you need to have this in your life. If you don't have this in your life is not rich. And you remember, corporations can't love you. We weren't born in corporations. This is a modern madness. Government can't love you. We're not born in a government. We have to deal with government. That's about it. Just leave it at that. We're born in families and we're born to our friends. Proverbs chapter 18, verse 24 says, A man that hath friends must shew himself friendly, and there is a friend that sticketh closer than a brother. So in order for you to have friends, you have to be friendly. In order for you to receive love, you have to be lovely. In order for you to have people care for you, you have to care for others. You have to do things for people. You have to be a friend. So as you know, there's a lot of people who want friends, but they're not friendly. They don't know how to be a friend. They don't know how to show themselves friendly. And because of that, they live a friendless life. So you want to be happy, then you have to do things for happiness. You have to understand how to do things for happiness. You have to want to do things for happiness. Because whatever you want for yourself, you must want for others. So what do you want for your friends? What do you want for your spouse? What do you want for those that you worship with? You want them to be happy. So what you do? You do what makes them happy. And you keep doing that. And the more you do that, the Bible says, by beholding, one become changed. By sort of thinking, how do I do to make somebody happy? Then you start to become happy yourself because you start thinking, oh, I do for happy. You look at people that are sad and they're not glad. It's because they're just not glad and they're sad. You choose to be glad. You choose to be happy. You choose to make your friends happy. And then you'll be happy. And somebody say, well, how does this work? Time. You need to keep doing it. The longer you do it, you become. You can become whatever you want to become, but you have to do. You have to think and do. You're not just you can't just think it. You have to do it. And by doing it and doing it and doing it, it is real. The Bible said, by beholding, one become changed. So I'll read it again for you, because that's what the Bible is telling us here. A man that had friends, plural, because you want them, and I want more. I say, if you want to be my friend, just connect with me. I'll be your friend. And I'm serious about it. A man that wants friend must show himself friendly. So notice, I'm telling you, I want friends, lots of friends, and so I'll be your friend if you want friends. If you say I have no friend, I'll be the first friend you have, and I'm serious. All right, because that's what friendliness. Friendly is you talk to people. Now I know I do this sometimes when I run into trouble. I just like pick up a conversation randomly with somebody, and next thing you know, the person didn't receive the conversation, and they got negative. And then you'll be like, okay, it happens. So I'm gonna tell you straight up, you're gonna be friendly with somebody and it's gonna fall apart. And then I pick up a conversation with somebody, and then they go full on and start talking and start telling me stuff that I'm like, wait, I'm in an aisle of a supermarket here. I was just saying something friendly, and we ain't gonna go into a counseling session here. So these things happen. But you have to just you practice friendliness, and so you keep it moving. But you practice friendliness, and then people be friendly to you. And then something you find some people just rebuff you real quick, and then some people will be like overly like, oh man, I was looking for somebody to talk to. It's like, okay, we probably need to go outside the supermarket and go on the park bench and start talking. So a man that has friends, plural, must show himself friendly. So you have to be friendly. And if you're not friendly, you start today, I'm guarantee you, with a year, 2 years, you're going to find yourself that you're very friendly. And you're going to be like, amazed how this happened. But it's a practice. It's like a skill. Everything that, I would say 3 years probably. Because any skill you have to do, it probably take about 3 years. And that's how I look at it. And then we just go with what Christ says 365, 3.5 years. You do 3.5 years, but just about any skill. If you have the aptitude for it, and especially these character skills, you become friendly. Just give it about 3 years. You just keep practicing, practicing. Call people, text people, say hi to people, whatever. After a while, you just become normal. But it takes a little while. But 3 years is decent enough for a massive skill like this. This is a skill that makes you happy. And there is a friend that sticketh closer than a brother. When we use the word again, stick, that's what we're talking about here. So we could say it is a friend that cleave, cling, adhere, glue, join, stick, closer than a brother. So somebody stick to you. When somebody stick to you, that's what you want. The more your people stick to you, don't you feel good when somebody stick to you, and just give you a warm embrace and just looking out for your best interests, and hey, that's what you want in your life, and closer than a brother. Proverbs chapter 18, verse 24. No, Proverbs chapter 8, verse 17 says, I love them that love me, and those that seek me early shall find me. So this is the Lord speaking, but this goes to human relationships again, right? I love them that love me. That's how God. See, we created like that. Somebody say, and I'm not. No, yes, you are. You just need to find your center in Jesus. When you find your center in Jesus, you start realizing, oh, I'm created to be like God. Because remember, we are not creators, but we're procreators. We are not creators, but we're inventors. We make stuff, we build stuff, we fix stuff. That's what God does. We're like Him, but also God is friendly, but He's friendly to those who are friendly to Him. We have to always get that. We keep the commandments of God because we like when people follow what we say. You don't want to admit that, but that's the truth. And when you admit that, you start to realize, oh, so when I do what somebody tells me to do, they're happier with me. Yes, you go to work to follow what they say, and then they take care of you. So notice here, I love them that love me. This is talking about wisdom, Jesus, but it's talking about us also. If people love you, love them. I always say, take the love from whoever you can get it. I realize not everybody's going to love me, but I realize that somebody's going to love me. So I learn. If somebody showing me love, I take the love, and then I give some love. Because I love them that love me, and hopefully those that love me, I love them, back and forth. And those that seek me early shall find me. And we close with Luke chapter 11, verse 9 through 10. 9 and 10 says, and I say unto you, ask and it shall be given unto you. So you have to ask for these things, both from God, relationships from God and others. Seek and ye shall find. Don't stalk if somebody don't answer, or knock and it shall be open to you. So if you knock and somebody say, I'm not interested, then you move on. That's just how I look at it. That's all. Until you find people in your life that love you. Because that's what we're created for. For everyone that asks it, receive it, and he that seek it, find it, and him that knock it shall be open. So with God, which is most of what I dealt with this week, we cling, we cleave, we follow hard after God. With human relationships, we do the same thing. With our health, we do the same thing. With our social connections, we do the same thing. Everything, we follow the same principles. We're just applying the principle of cleave, cling, glue, adhere. We follow it with God. We follow it with the human beings. We follow it with their health. We follow it with anything. We follow hard. When we follow hard, where life is better. Listen, you live life. The more energy you live life with, the more gust, the more push, the more energy you have in this life. It's just the better life is. Your life is just going to be best for it. And this is what we want to do. But we want to be able to put it in the areas that benefit us. And so if somebody blessing us, somebody looking out for us, we develop those relationships and we develop them real hard and we get the best results in life. Let us pray. Our Father who art in heaven, I thank you, dear Lord, for your word and the love that you continue to bestow in our lives. Pray, dear Lord, that we might truly not only love thee, but love our neighbor as ourselves. This is my prayer in Jesus' name. Amen. Well, thanks for being with me here on Revive Reform Radio. Looking forward to talking to you again live tomorrow, Monday, when we should talk about motivation. Until then, I pray that you may continue to walk with the King.